they said to just mute you on the computer.
Oh, okay.
And then
I can hear you, Donna. I'm sorry, we muted our computer.
But we're not hearing her on the phone.
on their, but they have their phones on. So it should be, let me get on the mic.
Yeah, get on the mic.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I'm gonna put on headphones so I can hear you. Great, so you should have your computer muted.
The computer's muted, but we're still getting a really bad feedback on the phone. Should we call back in?
We got the studio guys taking a look at it right now.
Tell her to talk again.
They said try to talk again.
Is that better?
Yes, and I don't know if you guys have headphones or something, if that would be helpful, or can you hear me?
We can hear you. I think we just had to get an RT back to check with all, whatever it was.
Oh, good. What did you do?
We had to use the computer, the input as well,
Yes,
not just the output.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna make a note of that.
So will they not hear us on Facebook Live?
No, they should, and I'm gonna check that right now.
No, that's not me right there.
Hold on one second. Let's see. This is so exciting getting you guys on with the Zoom. So we should be Facebook Live. Why are we not showing Facebook Live? On the page.
All right, I'm gonna go with that.
And gotta love technology, right? There you are. Okay, so if I go here, and we might get some feedback, but it's okay. Let me just make sure we can be heard.
You wanna do a mic check? All right, I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah, it's coming up. This is coming out of here, right?
No, I was so.
No, but we need sound here, right? Good sound?
Those mics are open.
There you are.
Yeah, is you got your setup?
If I go here.
Yeah, we might get some feedback, but it's okay. Let me just make sure we can be heard.
Just wanted to make sure
You
that
wanna do a mic check?
Yeah.
No, I was so.
Yeah, so everything is,
Yeah.
everything is working there. I hear you guys just fine. I heard it through Facebook. We're mic checking here just to make sure. We got mic checks good? We got Austin on the panel. It's his first day on the panel. You got this, Austin.
He's smiling.
Yes. So Kay and Shai, I'd like to introduce you to my business partner. This is Bill Eastman.
How you doing?
Super fantastic. Dale is your name?
Bill?
Bill, yeah. Bill, no. Billy only to my mother, and she is no longer with us, so I retired then. I go William or Bill. Bill it is.
Yes. So hello, Facebook. And I'm so excited that to be here. So you can see our guest today for the very first time since we tried this with Mark Moffat months ago. We got the whole sound happening. We got the video happening. Everybody's looking great. Look at you with your wonderful background, beautiful smiles. These are my friends, Kay Salerno and Shila Morris, and we're going to be talking about all things email today. But before we get started with the actual show at 2 o'clock, we like to do just a little pre-show, a little behind the scenes, peeling back the curtain, because and Kay and Shai, you feel free to jump in as you see fit, because what we would like to do for our Facebook audience is get real with them, because when we go on the show, a lot of times people can think, oh, well, you know, that's easy for them to say, but we actually are building a startup as we're going through this in one of the worst economies ever, right? So we.
And it's good to show people the behind the scenes. I think even seeing the struggle of technology, I mean, so many of us have resisted technologically advancing, kind of hiding behind this banner of I'm just better in person, I don't like the social media, I don't do the Zoom. Even, you know, it's not even just a generational thing. Like there's people across all generations who have felt that resistance, and now we're truly being forced to grow in this new world. And I think ultimately we all agree that a lot's going to change, but it's been good for us, even though it's been painful, to grow in this way, because we can be more connected utilize our tools, even through fear, we see that we can have better results and go farther with more people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such great wisdom, because a lot of what we're seeing with some business owners is this whole change and this thinking of just shutting down. I'm done, but there's so much more that we can do when we get creative. And that's what I really am excited to share with everybody, with you guys, because the stuff you've been doing is amazing.
Yeah, and
We'd be fine if we didn't have moments where we look at each other and say, gosh, if only we owned salons. And it's exactly like had to shut down, just in between.
yeah, and I think there's a lot of business owners that are, hopefully they've stopped kicking themselves in the backside and gone, all right, I've been out of business for a month, and they have built their online presence, because most people's excuse is, I've been too busy, which is probably a pretty good excuse. But now there's no excuse, because if you're not virtual, you're probably not open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and part of the behind the scenes, what I wanted to do today, you'll notice.
Happy birthday, Donna.
Ah, thank you.
You can't have a party. So everything is happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Donna. Happy birthday to you.
Ah, that's awesome. Thank you. And I want to give a shout out to my friend Alice Gibbons and the best concierge ever, Robin Daniels, over at flowergeneral.com, because my husband looked at me, he's like, what do you want for your birthday? And usually I don't think of much, but I said, flowers I think would be great this year, and I know just where you need to go to get them. So flowergeneral.com, and it not only warms my heart because they're a gift from my husband, but I also know that I'm supporting one of my business owner friends out there. So I think when we stick together, that's pretty much what we need to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely fantastic, and so we can add our testimony to yours. And then to also give you that kudos as well, because it is exactly people like you right now who are keeping small businesses like ours afloat and open. People who are saying, normally I don't want something, but this year I want flowers from this small business. This year I'm going to go buy a gift card from that restaurant because I want to support them. I'm deciding that because that organization gives to my community foundation every year, that I'm going to go buy a gift card at that auto shop right now and help them out. So it's people like you and acts like that that are really keeping the backbone of America, those small businesses, alive and floating right now, while the government tries to figure out what they're getting PPP. That's what we're trying.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And just to plug out there, Mother's Day is coming, and flowers are always a great gift. Yes. I'm going to do one more shameless plug. This one is a shameless plug for a birthday present that I'm looking for. I told Bill, I said, what I want for birthday present this year is to get 100 likes on our Instagram page. We're over at 2020 Sales Solutions. And when we went in the studio, I was at 99. So if there's anybody out there listening and you're on Instagram and you want to head over to 2020 Sales Solutions and make a birthday wish come true.
I don't think it'll be hard to do. I know the same site already follows you.
Yes.
Like, okay, coming over to see that number 100.
Yes, I love it. Bill.
The revised birthday wish is 111. Come on, 3 ones in a row.
There you go.
Just hit 100. So happy birthday.
Woo! I love it. Bill, what else do you want to add to our pre-show?
The other thing is that the launch of our radio station is actively underway. We're really in the first part of our soft launch. We're going to go, our second portion is going to start next week. Now, what's the difference? Right now, we've got over 300 podcasts. Not really podcasts, shows that we've done here at WNTW over the last year and a half to 2 years. And right now, we're testing out a website where we're going 24/7 global with business news, business information. In other words, if you want to start, grow, and exit your business, regardless of what's going on right now, it's more of you need these tools. that's what we're broadcasting. And next week, we're going to do 6 hours of live programming all week. And then we're going to replay that, because our design is we're going to do 6 hours and then repeat it 3 different times, or it's going to play 4 times over the 24, because there are basically 4 time zones or time zone areas where you've got 2 billion English speaking people. And of that, you've got about 180 million small businesses. So we're not talking about the 30 to 40,000 people who listen to us here at WNTW. We're talking about something around 180 million small businesses around the world that speak English.
Yeah, and for those of you that only know Bill as the guy behind the mic on Thursday afternoon, Bill, you've been doing consulting for quite a few years now. You got a little experience there.
Yeah, about 41 is, I think it was this year, this February was 41 years. And you could say 2/3 of that was spent large corporate consulting, working with premier companies, online companies, manufacturing companies, pharmaceuticals, hospitality. And what we did is our consulting practice was to make sure that we had a wide breadth of companies, and we either had the market leader or the number 2 company who was aggressively taking on number 1. And that taught us a lot, because we learned what was the difference between making pharmaceuticals, which is process manufacturing, versus making car parts, which is discrete. You would think that it's the same thing, and it's radically different application of tools. Then you're helping somebody like the premier hospitality company in the United States in terms of the hotels, and we're helping them put together customer service programs. So it's that type of education that you get as a consultant that you begin to go, I think we got a handle on this.
Nice. So, yeah.
That's great. And such demonstration too of like the number 2 goes after number 1 aggressively, like that hunger matters so much in terms of what you can get done, and how much you can achieve, and how you can just get complacent in your comfort zone or in your number 1 spot or whatever it is in between.
Well,
Yeah.
that is so true. And so that's why we like the number 2 company, because they were willing to try. Number 1 company is more concerned with playing conservative and keeping it. We want to hold what we got. Number 2's going, we want to take what they have.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I kind of like the second mindset myself.
Hey, there you go. So that's our startup. Besides the radio show that we're getting ready to be launching into the world, is an internet business growth radio to hit all the small business owners who could maybe afford to hire consulting. They can listen for free, get what they need, go and do it yourself, and kind of us building our legacy.
That's right. And we're going to build a community of people so that if you come inside, it won't be a matter of just listening to it. You'll have the opportunity to interact with us and our team of experts to help you implement the stuff that we talk about and everything that we do over the radio show. And what's really going to be different is we're not just hiring or bringing in an on-air talent who may look good on the camera and have a good voice. We're bringing in people they've done it. We've got people that are going to be older and with a lot of experience, because those are the individuals you want to talk to. Mm-hmm. When you want to talk to somebody who's done it 10 times and failed at it 3 or 4 times. So sometimes I can't tell you what to do, but I can tell you the 4 or 5 things that I know don't work because they didn't work.
Mm-hmm. There you go. So we're coming right up on the 2:00 hour, getting ready to go now into recording the radio show. But before we do that, Kay and Shila, I sent you a script. I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at that. It's going to be what we're following today. If you don't have it, it's fine. We're going to take good care of you. We'll talk you right through it. No worries. But is this something that we follow kind of loosely, but as much as we do? Basically, just so you know, we're going to be setting our phones for the timing so that when Bill goes into edit afterwards, it won't be quite as difficult. We have it broken into 4 segments today. So we'll do 17 minutes, take a short break. We'll talk through the next segment. Then we'll go 8 minutes, 10 minutes, and then 18 minutes. The first portion, the first 17 minutes, is setting up email marketing, email lists, because that's what we're talking about today. So giving the listener just a fundamentals of email. Feel free, this is conversational, so feel free to jump in at any time as you go through there. After the first break at the 8-minute segment is where we'll start with the questions that we had predetermined for you to answer. So that's your spotlight in there for the next 8 minutes, and then we'll come back. 10 minutes is still your spotlight. And then the last 18 minutes is the how, it's the application. So I came up with, it's where we like to give the listener some to-do ideas that they can go out and implement. So some of the things that possible topics of discussion: how do you warm a cold list? What if I can't get my list to convert? Besides social media, what are other ways to grow a list? And whatever other topics we want to talk about. Okay, do you guys got any questions?
No, we're very forward. We're excited to add value. Like, email list, we've been working on it for over a dozen years. We've learned a lot along the way, and we're excited to add value to you.
Ah, sweet. So are we ready to get started there?
We're ready. You do the countdown.
Yeah, I know, for Facebook. This is my first time in the hot seat on my birthday. Bill's throwing me in there. So here we go. Austin, are you ready? All right. 3, 2, 1. You are listening to 2020 Sales Solutions, everything a business owner needs to generate more and better revenue. And that means better customers with higher margins in any economy. This is show and podcast number 20 in our series on sales. We are proud to partner with WNTW 92.7 FM, 820 AM out of Chester, Virginia, serving all of Central Virginia, from Ashland to Roanoke Rapids, North Carolina, from Amelia to Tidewater, and where else, Bill?
And on a good day, Virginia Beach.
I am Donna Cundy, your host for today's show. In the studio with me is my co-host, William Eastman. Also with us are Kay Salerno and Shila Morris, sisters and owners of the Squeeze In restaurant chain and marketing faculty with the John Maxwell team. Welcome, everyone.
Hello. Good to be here. We're so excited.
Yes, welcome to the show.
We are heard every Saturday at 10 a.m. and Sunday at 4 p.m. And we're in the studio every Thursday right now at 2 p.m. recording the show. So you can watch us live behind the scenes. We just finished our behind the scenes. Catch the replay anytime on your time on our Facebook page at 2020 Sales Solutions on Facebook, 2020 Sales Solutions. And while you're there, why don't you show us some love and give us a like? So Bill, do you want to let our listeners know how they can best take advantage of this information that we're going to share?
Yeah, the way we designed everything is that you listen to the show, you download the materials that are in the show notes, and then you apply it and then engage us on how well it worked or if you need any support. If you're ahead of the game and you're watching our scheduling, then you would download it before the show. But hey, if you're listening now and it's Saturday at 10 o'clock, Sunday at 4 o'clock, or it is 2:04 on a Thursday, and you're live on Facebook, go to 2020sales.solutions. That's 2020sales.solutions. And when you get to our webpage, and by the way, .solutions is an extension. You get our webpage, you see the navigation bar across the top, look at tools, and you will see show notes. And we have 2 sets of notes up there today. One we'll address directly, and the other one we'll kind of have fun with, okay?
Well, sounds good. Thanks, Bill. So today, with the help of our special guest, we're going to be talking about all things email. And as I mentioned earlier, Kay and Shai own a chain of restaurants called Squeeze In. And I was talking to them about how things are going because, for most of us, we realize that we're in a pandemic and many restaurants are closed. And what they shared is that their email list has been instrumental in keeping their business going through this pandemic. And now today, they're eager to share their insights with our listeners today. So Kay and Shai, thank you for again, taking your time. I know you're busy business owners. And so we really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, well, thank you for having us, Donna. It absolutely delights us to add value to other people. And if maybe just something that someone learns on this podcast today can help take their business the way that our email system has helped us to save hours, and this whole time was worth it. Being a business owner of a business where people non-essentially gather in large social groups has been a tough water to navigate, but we pivoted a lot, and our success is a lot
Yeah, that's awesome. So if you're not driving and you're listening to us right now, you probably want to grab some pen and paper because you're going to want to be taking notes on this show. Bill, before we get into the specific email strategies that Kay and Shai want to share with us, you want to set us up with an overview of some email basics, the fundamentals on how to build a list, what about a list, and of course, Kay and Shai, feel free to jump in the conversation.
Yeah, I have a couple things here. I got kind of an overview, and then I'll take you to the website where I think it's a list of 10 or 12 things that are typically done. As a matter of fact, I pulled this out of a script that I wrote for myself about 3 months ago on an email campaign I was doing. But first issue is list generation. And so it's a matter of where do I get a list? How do I work it? How do I curate it? And sometimes you go back and you look at accounts that you used to have, or you can borrow it from other businesses. If you got a good working relationship with somebody, maybe they'll let you work their list, or you can buy a list. And buying a list, if you're buying from a reputable company, is also a valid way to go. Then what you need to do is you need to figure out that your goal here, and Donna and I go back and forth on this, on exactly what is the right terminology, but what you're trying to do is build a working relationship with somebody. Now, a lot of people will say you want to build trust. I have an alternative view of that, in that I don't think trust can be built until you've done something. In other words, if I promise to deliver something and I do it, then you start trusting me. I think most part, we're using this email campaign to reduce the risk that the person is going to take in order to do business with us. If this is the first time and they're happy or reasonably happy with somebody else, why should they shift to you? And in fact, you can see this all the time. Sometimes people will take the devil they know over the devil they don't know. And so I got to understand that working this list is not the end goal, or one of the metrics is sales, but this is really about building a relationship with somebody. Okay. And then you're teaching your members, your subscribers, on what to do, because sometimes they're not that savvy about how to use the information you send them. And then finally, which is more of an internal issue, is how do I monetize the list? And so if you want to see that more in depth, and I've got 11 points on that, go to our website, 2020sales.solutions, at 2020sales.solutions. Go to tools, and when you see show notes, open that up, and then you have show 20, just in case you really wanted an email checklist. And I put actually what the 11 steps I took last time I did this, and it's about 3 months ago.
Nice. Very good. So, Kay and Shai, what kind of things have you been doing to, as far as fundamentals, what would you like to share with
I think that a lot of people can hear in a podcast like this, especially during a startup phase or on a review show, that building an email list is a good strategy. But that feels so daunting. And maybe you haven't figured out what the product is yet, or you're not 100% built out on everything that you need to offer, what you would consider you being, quote, ready to start a list. But what I personally encourage everyone is that first off, email list generation is not that difficult. It's not too hard to set this stuff up online and on the back end. And even if your product isn't ready for sale yet, email building and email list building is a marketing effort that you then use to gather sales. So it's not a sales effort. It's a marketing effort that is then used for sales. And so marketing, when we get down to it, is really about connection. So we're building kind of this sense, we're gathering this information so we can continue to intentionally connect with them. So when it is time for sales to move forward, that they're ready for it. So I think too so often when we talk about email lists, everyone kind of, I think, at this point in the game here in 2020 agrees that an email list is important, or certainly a good strategy for growing a business, or growing a message, or a mission, or a campaign. Email lists are used for all kinds of different things. But one thing that we hear a lot is, the money's in the list, the money's in the list, the money's in the list. And that's true, but with a little bit of a clarification there, the money is in the value that you add to your list. So whether we're calling it building trust, or reducing risk, or anything there in between, by establishing this channel of connection, by adding value on a consistent basis, we're able to kind of go back then and demonstrate our work before we ask for that sale. So by adding value to our list, that will eventually add value to our bank account, but it's certainly a process and it takes time.
Yeah, and I think what a lot of business owners don't realize is that an email list can be one of their biggest assets. It's actually an asset to the business because it can be converted and monetized, and you own it. You can have a million Facebook likes, but Facebook can shut you down and that's all gone. They can shut you down in a day, but you own that list. So, when you're thinking of it in that way, what a great reason to want to build a list and nurture a list, not just to monetize it.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, I have a business partner. I work with Michael Mitchell in this area, and he is a business broker. And I can tell you, a well-worked list is worth a lot of money to the value of your company. If you're looking to sell it and you've got a good email list that you've been working and it's current, you can add maybe 10% of the sales off that list as an additional pop on the worth of your company.
We can absolutely attest to that as well. I mean, when we try to get funding in the past to open additional locations, showing that we have a strong email list and that we add value to continuously has helped us secure funding in times where we wouldn't have gotten it otherwise. So, I mean, that's absolutely 100% true.
Yeah, and there's, I think also a misconception out there that email is dead, that, nobody's going to read your emails anymore. But we were talking to a marketing guy just the other day, and he said the trend that he's noticing since quarantine is that more people are opening emails now because they've got nothing else to do. They're looking for things to do. So email is not dead.
Yeah, well, email is dead if your email is not.
How do you really feel?
I don't know. Brian just told me that. That's hilarious.
Nobody's gonna open for you by soon, and we're all just tuned to that. When we don't even care about that. That's something that grabs us.
Calling on the show.
The niche that we're in, or
Call
about
him and just talk to the guest that he has.
I mean, we all know there are certain
He
marketing
has like
emails
4
that we
callers
open
calling at
every
the
single
same
day,
time.
or that we're excited to get. So it's not dead.
That's right. I was going to add to that is I purposely have one email account where I don't have a spam filter. So I get everything. And what I note is the ones that I open, why did I open it? And I track that. And so one of the things that I consider important is you ought to be looking at the ones that grab your attention, because anybody like you probably would have opened it as well. The other thing I was going to ask you guys is that have you seen any ratio to, let's say I send out 10 emails to my list. How many of those are informational, news, etc., versus how many of those are selling?
Well, we actually have a little formula that we like to
Oh.
we want 4 of them serving base. So we serve our list, we add value, we serve,
Okay.
and some kind of sell. It doesn't mean that the first email or that something towards the bottom, you have a call to action to get something to move into a different segment of your marketing or to move into a sale, but really having value, and then I'm going to come in and say, hey, I've got this great product that I'm going, so 80% of the email is serving and then 20% is selling.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. And I know I'm on your email list, and I just received an email today from you. I believe it was from your Mentorship Quest podcast. Totally wanted to open it because I'm a big Thoreau fan, and the author Thoreau back Thursday. And so the content was all about,
wow.
Yeah. So being creative in there, not just, hey, here, open my email.
He's like making it like music or whatever. He's like a really good piano. Wow, no, what? Hey, it's fun stuff.
Over 47,000 email addresses in it because over the last 12 years we've been collecting and adding value, and scratch again. I think this email list that you're referencing right now, Donna, is at like 300 subscribers, and it's a daily email or sent out 6 days a week. And we're at the beginning of this year now, we've been having a lot of fun with it, and definitely the subject is something that we are both passionate about, and it's probably my biggest delight in the day is coming up with our subject for our email. So I'm glad you enjoyed throwback Thursday. And the recording of that podcast is a little ridiculous because we delight over throwback Thursday so much.
Yeah, you're definitely speaking my language there. And I love too that you shared that this is a list that you're building from scratch right now in this economy, and you're at 300. So it totally speaks to what Bill and I stand for, that we're bringing in guests, and Bill and I are doing what we say that we're doing. And I just think that lends so much more credibility to the advice that we're giving to business owners, because we're doing it. We've done it in the past, and we're continuing to do it now. And the steps and the measures that we're taking are still working.
Well, that's absolutely right. If people want to buy from others who are demonstrating the behaviors that they want to see, and you know, we can all speak on principles, we can all espouse these great concepts, but when you see someone doing it, when you see them on the front line, when we can say, we're restaurant owners with 200 employees and like and taxes and logistics and things, it gives us so much more credibility when we go to say to someone, do you need advice opening a restaurant? You know, or do you need help with your employees? So being on kind of an entrepreneurial front line matters a lot for people, and it's a currency that people are hungry for right now. So we're proud of you guys for doing that, and we want to continue to do that as well. As we keep marketing, we want to continue to innovate and practice marketing at every level.
Yes, absolutely. And so now we're going to be heading into a break. You are listening to 2020 Sales Solutions on WNTW 92.7 FM, 820 AM, the voice of Central Virginia. We're in the studio with Kay Salerno and Shila Morris with Squeeze In Restaurants, talking about all things email list, and we'll be right back after a short break.
Excellent.
So that's our first segment.
All right.
You guys are rock stars. When we come back in at the for the next 8 minutes, I do have your bio here. I'm going to be going a little bit more, since we're spotlighting you, talking about the bio that you sent, and then we'll give you time to comment on that and go into our questions. I have our first 2 questions to go into the 8-minute segments, but if we bleed over, we can pick it up again from where we left off.
Yeah, and to help you guys understand why the kind of an interesting break pattern is that when this is inserted in, we have basically a 24-minute segment in the first half hour and a 27-minute segment in the second. And that at the bottom of the hour at 30 past, it breaks for hard news for 3 minutes. And what we do is we put 2 smaller soft breaks in. So whether it goes at, I think we broke at 16:50 or we broke it at 18 minutes, we can put that in. But the hard break at 30 past, that is sacrosanct. That's going to happen, and we're talking, suddenly we're not on the air. So that's why the second segment, that 8 and 10, are broken up into 2 pieces.
So there you go. And you guys are all pros. You've been on radio before, I know. So any questions before we head into the next segment? All right. You ready, Bill?
All right, ready.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, and we're back. You're listening to 2020 Sales Solutions, everything a business owner needs to generate more and better revenue in any economy. This is show and podcast number 20, heard every Saturday at 10 a.m. and Sunday at 4 p.m. on WNTW 92.7 FM, 820 AM, the voice of Central Virginia. Go to our website, 2020sales.solutions, to check out the show notes and listen to past episodes. And if you were listening before the break, you know that we have special guests with us today, Kay Salerno and Shila Morris, 2 sisters. And this is the fun part of the show for me, because now we get into the spotlight of our guests and a little bit of a Q&A interview. But I want to tell you, you heard a little bit about Kay and Shila. If you were listening, you heard a little bit about their background, but you just don't know these 2 like I do. I first met Kay Salerno and Shila Moore several years ago at an international Maxwell certification. There are marketing faculty for the John Maxwell team, and if you've seen any of their marketing stuff, it's really incredible. And more recently, you've heard me talking about them. I don't know if your ears are burning, ladies, but I talk about you just about every week on this show because I'm so impressed with what you've been doing on Facebook to keep your restaurants going during this pandemic. But what you really don't know about Kay and Shila is that when they were 10 years old, their parents quit their careers and bet it all to buy a tiny breakfast restaurant in a California ski town. And the sisters instantly gained a front row seat to the drama of American entrepreneurship. We all know that, don't we, Bill?
Yeah.
All while bussing tables and working the new family business on the daily. And as they became adults, they joined the ownership and helped grow the business into a national brand featured on the Food Network. And if you're watching us on Facebook, you see that banner back there, Food Network, and in the New York Times. Mom and dad are retired now, so Kay and Shila are leading the business, and it serves millions of guests across multiple states every year. And they are recognized for their unique marketing strategies. We were talking about that with the email a little bit on Throwback Thursday, and their dedication to development. And Kay and Shila find that their love for each other, which is so sweet for the sisters, fuels their drive and their success. And since 2015, Kay and Shila have shared their stories and strategies as speakers and podcast hosts, and as the marketing faculty for leadership expert, best-selling author John Maxwell's global team of speakers, coaches, and trainers. They love to serve delightful experiences with results-oriented focus and simple, actionable takeaways. What more can you ask for? It's so great to really have you here and sharing your insights with all the listeners. Wow.
And I have a 2-year-old. So it's between the two of us, 4 kids under 10. It's a loud experience.
So homeschoolers, podcasters, restaurant owners, marketing faculty, do you have time for yourself? There you go.
Together about teaching people in their strength zone and trying to maximize effort and input so that everybody can do a great job and we can all stay in that strength zone for ourselves and do all the things that we want to do. And to be fair, we're only homeschooling due to, that is not by choice.
Right, but you still got to do it. So kudos to you. My kids are 19 and 24. They're out the door. I don't have to worry about that. But I got 3 burning questions for you, 3 burning questions. And really the first one's that so many people are turning to social media now. I'm hearing them almost addicted to social media, but they're doing it to stay connected with families and friends. And you both shared with me that you have used social media sites to build strong converting lists. And I know a lot of business owners are familiar with the paid social media ads, but how would a business owner go about building a strong converting list on social media?
Very similar thing from what you would be doing if you're building an email list and gathering like money and getting sales out of that email list. You're doing the same thing on social media. You're adding value. You're giving people something on your channel that's worth watching. Check out this week's delicious ham sandwich. Might be good enough for a social media post. But I'm still on there and just hamming it up while you're here in quarantine, or what the ham is going on here, or whatever you want. Those things can help give people a little bit of value and add something to them. So what we found is that a strong email list in conjunction with a ravenous social media following ensures that whether they're in their inbox or they're on their preferred platforms, that you are also there in front of them, adding value and reminding them as to why they should do business with you. One of the mistakes that we see happen is that you might have this ravenous base of people on social media. Like maybe you're good at writing compelling posts, which is what people want on social media. They want to connect with someone authentically. They don't want to connect with, the brick and mortar of reason. They want to connect with Kay and Shila, the sister owners, right? So people are hungry to connect with video one, and then if you want to get the other 3 videos, you submit your email address, or if you want the ebook, you submit your email address. So this is the way to convert kind of that social media following with a larger marketing push into an email list that then you can start posting.
So it sounds to me like you're almost using your social media following the same way you would use an email list.
Well, I mean, strategies that work are strategies that work. You know, that the cosmos has the same design as like a banana. So if it works for your social media, it's probably going to work for your email line. Okay, probably you know it does. You're really, I mean, the end of the day when it comes to marketing is, are we connected enough so that you can make the decision to exchange your money for my service or my product? And if you're not the kind of person who connects via email, but you're really active on social media, I am not going to tell you that I'm not willing to connect with you because I'm only an email marketer. I'm just not going to do that. So finding ways to meet people where they are in order to add value.
What I'm hearing then is the end goal is not necessarily to get them from social media to email, but is there a strategy to go from social to email?
Yes, I actually just talked about it. It's the hook. So what you essentially do
I gotcha.
is kind of like, it's like you got a race, right? And every follower you bring in is new fish that you're dumping in the lake, right? And then you get your email out there and you throw a hook in the water, right? You have all these fish in the sea, and the more fish that you have, the quicker you're going to get bites on that hook. So social media is a really great place to be for that. Once you get the bite, you bring it in, you have them into your email list, and now we can start to build that relationship even further.
So we are coming up to another break, and you are listening to 2020 Sales Solutions on WNTW 92.7 FM, 820 AM, the voice of Central Virginia. We're in the studio with Kay Salerno and Shila Morris with Squeeze In Restaurants and much more, talking about all things email list, and we'll be back after a short break. Great.
Can you bring up their volume? Their volume, yes. Yeah. We just got
We're
a hit on Facebook. Okay.
talking, we got a message from one of our Facebook listeners that they're having a little bit hard time.
We just
hearing
panned
this,
it back up.
We're turning up your volume on our end here. Is there anything else you want to say about question 1?
And then to move into the next one.
Awesome.
I mean, there's a lot we can say about everything.
Yeah.
I will say it's really cool to hear, as I heard you say that we're in Central Virginia, and I didn't even know that Virginia was split into anything but just Virginia, but we're totally in an area called Northern Nevada. People just think that the only place in Nevada is Las Vegas. And you're like,
Oh,
Nevada?
what part of Nevada? I lived in Vegas for a year, and I don't have that problem of it's only Vegas.
Yeah, we're in Reno. So
Oh, okay. Reno's a cool town.
it's a really cool place.
Yeah, I'm a Pahrump guy. I mean, if I go back, I'm going to go live in Nye County.
That is a weird county to be a part of.
I know it's the Old West. It's 1870. Now there's cars driving around, but it's still 1870 and Nye.
Okay. Do you want to bring us in from the break?
Oh, you want me to?
Yeah, sure. Let's get you.
Oh,
turn on your
she's
feet.
making me work. See, I used to do all this now. I've got it. Okay. All right. So I'll do the countdown. Austin, we cool? All right. Here we go. He's panned you up, and we've got somebody who is monitoring on Facebook. So we still don't have enough sound. We will
Maybe-
bring it up for Facebook. And of course, in the
Yeah.
recording, you guys want a podcast part of this. In the recording, your sound will be fine because I do the mixing, and I'll be doing that in the morning.
Yeah. Can we just sound check one more time? I'm sending a text out. So Kate and Shila, if you could just talk a little bit as I send the text out. Is it?
Hello, Kay and Shila here from Reno, Nevada. Proud to be on the show today and excited to add some value to the listeners in Central Virginia.
So you're not sending text.
So there was a Central Virginia.
Well, before we start, here's what we're up against. The area is called RVA. Unfortunately, our number one competitor in the market has the call sign of RVA. So at 11:40 a.m. So we do not talk about WRVA here. So we had to go, well, we can't call this RVA, which is the local slang for Richmond, Petersburg, South Side, the stuff that we got here. So we said, well, we got to call it Central Virginia because there isn't really another name for it.
Way to get creative.
Well, you cannot put your competitors on the air. I'm sorry, can't do it.
Can we turn up a little bit more, do you think?
Yeah, Austin's got it. Yeah, his only fear is that as he pans it up, when you get to the top of the pots on the panel, it begins to distort. But again, I can pull some of that out in the podcast when I put in some noise reduction.
Okay,
All right, we cool? All right,
here we go.
3, 2, 1. You have been listening to Sales 2020. Our website is 2020sales.solutions, and we are heard every Saturday, I guess it is,
Saturday and
at
Sunday.
10 a.m. and Sunday at 4 p.m. on WNTW 92.7 FM, 820 a.m., the voice of Central Virginia. And we're also live every Thursday at approximately 2 o'clock. We do a pregame show at 1:45, so you get a little bit behind the scenes. And then sometime around 2, and I think we started 2:01 today, we are live on Facebook. And so if you're listening live, Facebook, if you're listening to the recording, it's Saturday or Sunday. And again, we're on WNTW 92.7 FM, 820 AM. And we have in the studio, well, kind of in the studio, on the phone in the studio, is Kay Salerno and Shila Morris. And they are sisters and owners of Squeeze In Restaurant Chain and Marketing. And they're part of the John Maxwell team. And they are talking to us live from Reno, Nevada. And we were just having a great conversation about living in Nevada. What a great state.
Yeah, that's right. And Bill, before we get back into the interview, do you want to let our listeners know what we talked about at the top of the hour?
No, I don't, but I'll do it anyway.
He always gets me with that one.
All right. Yeah, if you listen to the show, you know what that is, because every time I ask Donna that, she looks at me like,
Deer in
Huh?
the headlights, like it comes every week, and I just was like, what?
well, the first week I could see her going, you didn't give me a heads up. But after about the 4th week, I was going, you might get this one. All right. What we did in the first half of the show, you go to website, 2020sales.solutions. That's 2020sales.solutions. You go to tools, you'll see it up at the top. You pull up show notes. And what we were doing was we were talking about some of the elements of successful email campaigns. I did an overview, and then I put an example up of something that I just did a couple months ago for an email campaign that I was doing here when I was general manager of the radio station. And so, and then what we had is we had Kay and Shila come in and talk about what they're doing and how they have built a strong brand. And some of the things they shared with us, interesting, is another application of the 80-20 rule, Pareto rule, that if they send out 5 emails to somebody, one of them is probably a specific sales email, and the other 4 are informational to build further value. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't have some CTA or call to action within there, usually in the PS line. But fundamentally, they understood that if every email you send is selling, people get kind of not only immune to it, it's almost like a bruise. And now every time somebody touches it, it hurts.
Mhm.
And so they were very good at that. And that's been working for them. And also, as they understood, is that there's some integration between email and social media, but not necessarily is it total. So some people are getting their news from them through email, and others are getting from social media. And for some, it's together. And so you have to understand that you're doing both of those at the same time. So that's what we talked about in the first 26 minutes of the show.
There you go. Thanks, Bill. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Now back to the fun part with our guest, Kay and Shila. My next burning question for you too is, before the break, you shared some insights on how to grow a strong converting list on social. And as we talked about earlier in the show, it's not just about having a list. We really need to know how to use it. And you have a list, but you've also been training your staff on how to use the list in the process. Do you want to speak to that?
For those of you who have brick-and-mortar locations and have large staff that interact in person with your customers or your clients, or in our case, your guests, when you can open your doors back up again, training your associates on marketing your email list on your behalf can be one of the most important ways to really see some long-term sustainable growth. Yeah, I mean, that brick-and-mortar space can sometimes feel like an email list is secondary, but what we're seeing in our business clients and our guests and our associates that wouldn't be there had we not cultivated it. So if you didn't cultivate before and now you're shooting yourself in the rear, the Chinese proverb is the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, the second best time is today. Start today. How can you start building that email list and adding value to people who follow you on social media or in your regular life so that you can mobilize it when you need to? Because what happened for us was we were able to go to our list and say, we are dying. We are dying, and I don't know if we're going to make it unless we figure something out. And yes, we're taking all these different actions and things, but we need help and we need your ideas. I mean, our guests have now taken, I think, 5 surveys over the last 5 weeks. We're getting 1,000 responses on surveys at a time.
Wow.
We're offering deals. We're trying a bunch of different things, and then one will stick that goes really good, and we're able to run with it. So even though we're a larger company, we can be agile and adapt because we have an email list that gives us the two-way communication with our guests.
Yeah, and I love when you say that mobilizing. It makes me think back to my military time that you don't just deploy. You have to train for it. You have to prepare for it. So that really spoke to my heart there. Yeah, when you talk about the sending these emails out, you mentioned you coined a term. I don't know if you coined a term, but it was new to me. You talked about crisis communication. How is that different than your regular? I know you were talking about, hey, bleeding hearts, we need your help. Is there anything more to that?
Well, there's a few things where you have to have some consideration when it comes to crisis communication, because something that we all experience collectively during the time, especially where we're in a global crisis, we have collectively sustained a wound as a bruise. Yes, we got a big old wound, right? And so little tiny things are hurting people more than they would hurt them in the past. The avocado forgotten on your egg sure seems like a big deal right now to some people who may have that big gaping wound and get a little bit of a scratch and really have a big reaction against that. And so finding ways that we can kind of lean into that, I think. So I think too, the crisis communication is different than regular communication because there's so much uncertainty, but that uncertainty helps open up the space for you to step in. It's kind of like whether you're talking about marketing or leadership, like all of this uncertainty does open up space, and people are looking around for who's got clarity, who's got security, who's got certainty. Even if you're certain that you have no idea what you're doing, but you're taking action and you'll be danged if your business is going to go down, they are hungry for that. So crisis communication for us has meant increased communication, and it has meant increased authenticity. So much more stepping into get to know our business as the people that we are, and less so about the specials and the deals and your birthday coming up. And people are craving that, and they're really responding to it. So I think crisis communication comes down to being real and hopeful, having clarity and certainty, even in your uncertainty, and being able to meet your clients, guests, customers where they are. One of the things that we've been talking about in this, when it comes to crisis communication and how we have wanted to carry forward what comes from us in this time, it's actually a little bit of a metaphor. We've been saying we want to be realistic with our people and with our guests. They need to know where we are. They can't serve us properly. So we've got this nut of realism. But just because we have realism in front of us doesn't mean that we can't add that sweet chocolate exterior of hopefulness. So we've been really doing our best to carry forward, and we actually decided on this voice before we started our crisis communications. We said, what voice do we want to go out right now, and how do we want to represent in this time, because it's going to be weeks. We really came down to this idea of being hopeful and realistic. We've got that nut of realism surrounded by the sweet chocolate of hope.
Yeah, wow, that's really just a different way to approach it, isn't it? Just from the heart.
Yeah, and the thing that struck me, and when we come back from the break, I think that I want to explore a little bit more, is that you all didn't take on the burden of being so smart that you figured out every answer. And the thing that struck me was, because of the nature of the relationship you had with your client base, your email list, is that you could say, hey, we're going to go under here if we don't start generating some revenue. Help us. What can we do? And suddenly they're telling you how you can service them better, and we will get some exchange of money back and forth. And so the two things that struck me, one is you did that, you had the courage to do it. And two, you had the relationship built, because if I didn't know somebody, I wouldn't respond to that because I wouldn't really care whether they stayed in business or not.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Bill, you want to take us to the break?
Okay, so you've been listening to WNTW 92.7 FM, 820 AM, the voice of Central Virginia. The show is 2020sales.solutions.com.
Not solutions, 2020 sales, not solutions.
2020sales.solutions, and we'll be right back.
I put you on the spot.
That's all right. A little comedy.
Yes.
Yeah, everybody says I have a face for radio, so I go with that.
No, what I would really love to hear when we come back from the break too, if you want to maybe walk our listeners through a little bit. You've been doing some of these really unique things on Facebook with the a-thons that I've been talking about, and what you did for Easter, and maybe how that can play into things. Would that be something you'd want to share?
I think that Bill's comment and wanting to dig in plays really well into that, because that initiative really took off out of surveying our guests, like, hey, how will you guys help us? And they said, this is one way we'll do it. And so we really leaned in.
Okay, awesome. So are we ready?
You ready?
I'm ready. You guys ready?
We're ready, roll.
All right. Bill, you're typing. Does that mean you're still ready?
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1, and we're back. And we are in the studio with Kay Salerno and Shila Morris from the Squeeze In restaurant chain, and so much more. You're listening to us on 92.7 FM, WNTW 820 AM. And we're talking all things email communication. So before we left for a break, Bill, you wanted to explore a little bit more about what Kay and Shila were talking about.
Yeah, as we were coming down to the previous break, they hit on a really important issue, is that a lot of times as business owners, as entrepreneurs, I know I fall in this trap myself. I try to be too smart. And, we've got this COVID-19 going on. If businesses are locked down, I can't sell traditionally the way I sell. I got to come up with all the answers. And what you all did, because of the nature of the relationship you have built through social media and email, even though we're talking more about email today, is that you were able to go to them and say, help us. And instead of trying to be brilliant all the time, you let your customers be brilliant. And wow, if they said do this and they're going to give you money, you probably had a pretty good hint that if you did it, you get paid.
Yeah. So what did you find when you went out there? What kind of feedback did you get, and what did you do with that feedback?
Well, we've always been big believers in don't be the smartest person in the room. And so I'm glad that you picked up on that. And when, all of this started happening and we saw that revenue, take such a huge majority dive, we went to our list and we said, what will you spend money on? Of course, a nice marketing term. But we really asked them, like, how can we serve you in the new normal? And what can we do to help you help support us? Many of you are asking, what can we do? What can we do? And we kind of threw out some options of things. And we got this overwhelming response of people saying, we like this idea of sponsoring hot meals for hospital workers. We like that. We don't have to leave our homes. We don't have to buy a gift card, right? Every brick and mortar right now that's closed suddenly gift cards. And like that's it's an altruistic thing, but it doesn't quite stress that same isn't everybody's doing it. So when people said we really are energized by this idea of sponsoring hot meals for hospital workers through your restaurant, we were like, great, we can take that idea and really run with it, and we have ran with it. Well, it ran with it to the point of now we've done 2 Facebook Live telethons, if you will, that have totaled into 8 hours of telephoning. We have sent out lots of emails to both our restaurant list and to our speaking list and that things of that nature. We've called in every favor we've had, but we have raised enough to feed over 2,200 hospital workers in our area. And in full transparency, that has saved our business and has carried us long enough to hopefully get some funding to help through. But it was an incredible way to mobilize the list, give people something to do that they could feel good about. And we're an institution that we built a lot of trust, so they know that if they give that to us, we are going to turn around and we're going to do what's right with it, which is exactly what we said we were going to do. We've had integrity all along. They trust us to be integrous with their money, and it is making a major difference for our hospital workers, for our associates,
Wow.
small business owners out there, you know I mean, that is the difference between payroll and not, and certainly at our side. And
Yeah.
so it's been huge in extending that runway for us. And, so they all said, yes, we're willing to sponsor hospital workers, hot meals for hospital workers. And part of what we, pride ourselves on doing is trying to maximize every opportunity that comes along. And so us saying, let's not just send out an email about it. What can we do that magnifies this message and really gets people inspired up and excited, and came up with this Facebook Live-a-thon approach, and then went to the list, all of the lists. So we have personal lists, our email list for our restaurant, our email list for the King and Shy Mentorship Quest brand, and said, hey, if you've got a talent you want to share, if you've got a message of hope or an adaptation, we want to feature it. We want to show people, other people. And some people love showing their talent. They do. And then we got to put on the first almost 5 hours, as Kay mentioned it, and our goal was to raise 1,000 meals, aka $10,000 during that 5 hours, and we did. In fact, we raised I think 11,500 by pulling people out of the list and saying, don't be a passive actor in our rejuvenation, be an active part of our success story. And people were really excited to do that with more than just their money, with their videos, with their time, with their likes, with their shares, with their watch parties, and everything in between. So it's been a really cool effort, and we encourage anyone listening to employ it, feel it, life it, deploy it. It is yours to take. It has been massively successful for us.
Yeah, like the old PBS-a-thons is how it was.
But it's a brilliant idea.
It
And
really
of
is.
course, it proved to be brilliant because how many people went, wow, can
Yeah.
I play?
Well, 2020 Sales Solutions supported it. We bought some meals and donated to that. And what I liked about it too was I love the ingenuity that came from it first. It tugged to the heartstrings of, yes, let's help our fellow business owners and entrepreneurs, and let's give to those that are on the front lines. But you guys went even further than that, because then I was seeing your employees, and I was seeing pictures of them making the meals and delivering the meals, and then the happy staff or the medical workers that were getting. So I got the full picture from this whole thing. It wasn't just give us your money and we're going to run away. You came up right away. You've got that little marquee sign that you update with how many meals have been donated. And so I feel a part of the process.
Well, it wouldn't be a two-way conversation if you didn't. And that's where marketing, it really, it's marketing and sales. They're kind of like besties. But sales is once you've really gotten the relationship up and running. But the whole point is that back and forth. And so we were entrusted with not just money, because money has intention behind it 100% of the time. There is never money without energy. And so when someone trusts us with money with an intention of doing good, it is like, it's our freedom, our job to connect back with them and let them know, hey, yeah, this is a thing that we're getting to do together, and honoring the connection that they've honored by participating in that way. Well, so often we view currency through that very singular lens of money. But currency has so many different levels that come before the money level. And so if we look at the classic buyer's journey, that first step is really awareness, right? And then the currency there is attention. It's just somebody being aware of you and paying attention. And so bringing that understanding to the fact that you've got to get other forms of currency before you get to the money currency is part of that plan. So first, I just have general awareness about you. The next form of the buyer's journey is consideration. And the currency there is really taking some kind of supportive action. It might be a join the email list. It might be a share or a like. And then we get to the sale part, the decision part of the buyer's journey. And that's where someone says, all right, I'll sponsor a hot meal. But first I had to have awareness about it. Then I had to have consideration. You tuned in. You saw the full picture being presented for you so that you could feel trust and knowing that that's what's actually happening with your sponsorship. And then you made the decision to sponsor some meals and be part of it. And then a marketer's real job is then to continue to market to those people the good deeds that they've done, how good they should feel about it, how they can continue to support and help, and building that relationship even further so that it becomes more of a community connection piece rather than a one-time transaction.
Yes. And are you still taking donations? We are a sales show,
We sure are. You can see the localbead.com if you'd like to and they told me $10 to sponsor a meal, a hot meal for a hospital worker. I know in our community, our hospital is getting pretty overrun, all of the hospitals. And we were lucky enough just 2 weeks ago to add the veterans
Nice.
hospital into the VA into our lineup. You know, the first 2 COVID deaths that happened in our county were VA nurses. There was a nurse and then someone who worked at one of their clinics. And so that staff, normally the VA cannot accept donations of any kind. But when we came forward with our ask and said, hey, can we provide these meals? We've had them sponsored. They said our morale is so low because we've lost our members and we're one of the hardest hit hospitals, but we can't accept donations. We're going to make a special exception for you guys. And so I'm proud to say that tomorrow we will be dropping off 50 meals specifically for the surgeons and the respiratory units that are working 24/7 right now with the VA to help show the love and give them that sense of community, not just from the sleep-in, because they know that these are donated meals. They know that it goes just so much further beyond just us, and it is beautiful. And, you know, Donna and Bill, just for your listeners' sake, you know, something we've always loved is this idea that you should be genuine and strategic with what you do in your sales efforts, in your marketing efforts, and in your business. So it's very genuine for us to get to do this, and it's strategic, as we shared. It's helping save our business quite literally through these sponsorships. And so it's been neat to see like a genuine act, like delivering 200 meals to the Truckee Taco Forest Hospital. And then after doing that for 4 days in a row, we got a call from them on the day where we were not sponsoring meals. And they said, hey, our cafeteria is closed and we're giving our staff the option to go to 2 different places in town. Yours is one of them, and the majority of the staff can squeeze in. So now it's turned into this sponsored meal from the community, into relationship with the people at the hospital who are spending more money and helping support our business even further. So it's been very genuine, and it's been strategic, and it's been win-win-win all around.
Fantastic. So that is feedthelocalneed.com if anyone would like to donate. You said $10 is the starting point to go ahead and get some of those meals into those hospital workers, and it's feedthelocalneed.com, right?
Yes, and you have $1 every
No, I was thinking about something else.
It's so much fun to be in charge.
I know, she's enjoying it. Now, where I was going though is I was taking a look at some of the other things that we were thinking about covering. And I know a lot of people out there who have got lists, haven't done anything with it.
That's right.
And so one of the questions that I was thinking about was, how do I warm the list that's been cold? And I was thinking about it from the perspective of my doing it. So I'd like to hear what
Because you've
you all
got
would
one
say.
too.
I've got 47,000 business names in the area, and nothing has been touched in about a year, and it's a cold list. So how do I warm that?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think there's the ultimate answer is you're going to warm it in a way that's most authentic for you, and then what's crafted in a way that's compelling for your audience. So, you know, there's a few different strategies. One would be a survey, a 2-question survey is something that a lot of people, even if they haven't heard from you in a year, are willing to answer 2 questions, and that just helps you start building that relationship back up with them. And it can be, you know I know I've been quiet. Please take 2 minutes and answer this 2-question survey. It's like you're getting interaction there. It's not just a passive read or a delete. Most people will say, you know, especially if you've got a good headline or a subject line, something like, can you answer this question, or can I give you some feedback? I think that's our most successful open rate has been with the subject line, can I give you some feedback? And then the first line is, we love you and appreciate you. Now will you give us some feedback when you requested a survey? And so finding ways that you can just be compelling with your copy and then get them to interact in some ways, a nice way to start warming up. But that's just one strategy. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's the age-old sales strategy of lead with new information. So don't just like reignite your email list like, hey there, all you school cats and kids, what are you guys doing out there? But have some new information. Maybe it's a launch, maybe it's a new product offering, maybe it's something that's coming forward for you. Yeah. The other thing that can really be helpful in this new information is a relaunch event. Hey there, business owners, I'm so glad that I have all you guys together. I've been quiet for about a year now because I've been in my math sciences lab cooking up something that you are not going to believe. That's why I want you to join me in my Facebook group and on
Yeah, and I think that's a great question, Bill, because there might be a lot of business owners while their business is closed, haven't even thought to reach out to their list.
Yeah, because again, if you're a solopreneur, you got 2 or 3 employees, which is pretty much Central Virginia small businesses. A lot of the stuff you should have done. Hey, you weren't doing it. Why? Because the economy's good. You had revenue coming in, and you kept going. Yeah, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. Well, now it's time to get to it. And so I think that's really a good way of looking at it, especially in terms of a relaunch of some sort, where
there's going to be so many businesses relaunching.
Well, and you're trying to figure out how to hang on. So it could be not a relaunch event, it could be a hang on event, like you all did in a different way. When you said, "Hey, help us. We need to stay in business. Help us out. How can we service you better or serve you better?"
And one great way that always ignites a list is a really compelling story. No one can resist a story, especially one that's well crafted. So being able to talk about your struggles, talk about your challenges, talk about your triumphs, talk about where you are, and being able to relate with someone. And we like to use the example all the time that you could say to someone, the power of gratitude has changed your life, or you can say, "Gosh, this morning as I was taking my first sip of coffee and looking out at the sunrise, I was overwhelmed with the sense of gratitude and thinking and reflecting on how gratitude can change your life." All I did there was add a little warming sentence, literally, that painted a picture in your head that primed you to be receptive to the message I was delivering. So anytime we can incorporate imagery or stories or a point where someone can connect with us on a personal level, that's always going to share compelling for people.
Yeah, the compelling content is really important there. But I know a few entrepreneurs, and they tend to be a rare breed and a proud breed. So how can a business owner who's not used to coming out vulnerable, where can they learn how to do that? How can they learn how to do that? How can they connect when they're not used to connecting?
Well, at first it sounds a little brash. Get over yourself. Who are you, the business owner, to think you're so special that your story wouldn't impact other people? Who are you to think that you're so special that you wouldn't add value if you were to be vulnerable? Studies are coming out now that show that vulnerability is really like the big human currency. If I open to you, you open to me, and we create an energetic exchange that is called connection. And if I want a shortcut connection, I can do so through vulnerability. And so many people take this sense of, I guess, weakness or humility and say, well, I'm being humble by not sharing my struggles, or people don't want to know about those things. But the feedback that we've been hearing from this authenticity is, thank you. You're saying the things that are happening to me too. And it's so nice to know. I mean, in our community, we're just in our little region, we've got 12 locations total, but in our region there are 5. And there are other restaurant owners that are looking to us to say, well, Susan is leaning in, can I lean in too? And so acting as a beacon for the community. But if you're perfect all the time, no one believes the beacon. Well, and I don't blame entrepreneurs who come from this place, because I think the intention is really, look, everyone's told us to position yourself as an expert, be secure in your credentials, present the very best product, and that's what wins. And maybe, in the early 90s, that is what would win. But now, with social media and with everybody being connected, what wins is that authenticity, is that vulnerability. And the good news is, if you are one of those diehard entrepreneurs, then you're really good at adapting, or else you would not have gotten this.
That's right.
And this is just a new thing for us to get to adapt to, and a new skill that we get to build the muscle. We get that opening your heart is a lot harder than figuring out the strategic output of your particular business strategy or whatever it is. But it is more subtle, and it can really have a big shift for your messaging, for your bottom line too.
Yeah, that's great, because I know ego, they've taught me that's edging out God. And so when we just show up a little bit vulnerable, we can connect with more people, especially now. So we are coming to the end of our show today. Thank you so much, Kay and Shila, sisters and restaurant owners and podcasters and marketing specialists coming to us. Kay and Shila, if any of our listeners want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
We would love to have you on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. You can go to @KayAndTheSHI. We would love to especially have you on our Instagram, and if you're on our Instagram, again, that's I thought I put the link in our bio there and get up on the Mentorship Quest podcast, our daily 5-minute growth-oriented podcast that takes you from a famous quote to a simple question in 5 minutes or less.
I told you this was going to be one that you wanted to have pen and pencil for, so pen and paper. And Billy, you want to take us home?
Okay. Thanks for being on. Great show. The podcast is going to be great. And Saturday and Sunday audience is going to get a lot from this, given what the latest news is. So you've been listening to 2020 Sales Solutions, everything a business owner needs to know and do to generate more and better revenue, which means better customers at higher margins. This is show and podcast number 20. Believe it or not, 20 in our series. And we're proud to partner with WNTW 92.7 FM, 820 AM out of Chester, Virginia, serving all of Virginia, Central Virginia. In fact, the voice of Central Virginia. And with that, everybody have a great week. We'll catch you next.
Bye.
Ciao.
Hey, so thank you again so much. I know that's going to really add so much value because it was a different take on everything. And then coming on to the Zoom and working with us with that one, having that nice little backdrop. You guys are so professional.
Well, we didn't start out professional. We did a lot of not good lives and not good interviews and messed up a lot. And that's one thing we typically do try to highlight in interviews is how much we failed and keep getting back up. But thank you so much. It's an honor to be on with you guys. It's energizing to get to talk about it and try to empower others and help to empower ourselves. Yes, well, I mean, and normally we have speaking engagements throughout the spring because it's kind of the conference season.
Right.
So it's been hard to see what is definitely where one of the things that ignites us the most get taken away. And so thank you for this opportunity to add value. It really lights our heart.
Yeah, and so as we end up on our Facebook friends, feedthelocalneed.com. And this is Kay and Shila. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you later, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Good show. Good guest.
They're great. That would be better. Did it? No. Can you end the Facebook?
Yes.
End meeting?
How the show go, Bill?